Hey everybody, it's Angela and I am back with a design team project for SaCrafters. And I'm going to do that little baby girl album, and these are a few bits and pieces I've pulled out of my stash. I've got this Pebbles pack, which I use the most of, and I'll tell you the other products when I get to them. And this is the album. I love that it is rectangular, so it's really quick and easy to work with. You don't have to mess around too much with cutting out shapes. It's also bound on the left hand side, which makes it a little easier for me sometimes than the flip pages. I kind of like the ones that go on the side better. And it has 3 holes for binding rings, but I was going to use my spiral binder. You could use a cinch. And I did the whole thing with the thought of spiral binding it, and then found out I didn't have any white coils to bind it with, so I wind up doing a more traditional binding, and it looks fine. I did it after the fact. Really, you should do it before you cover your pages, so you can kind of learn from my mistakes, and I'll show you when I get to that point. And so this is a piece of paper left over from one of those Joanne stacks from, probably 10 years ago. And I'd went and pulled the stack apart. It was like a stack of like seasons and celebrations or whatever. And I actually pulled the stack apart and put papers in like my travel stash, or like this one went into my baby stash. And so I actually got to use it. And like I said, a rectangular one makes it so easy because you can just use your craft knife on it and go around the edges. You don't have to trace out your shape or anything like that. So this is really quick and simple. And I want to make the edges white on this and not have the chipboard showing. And this ink pad was dry, so I figured I was just going to go ahead and paint the edges white. But then I remembered a different ink pad, and I went back and found it, and it was juicy enough. So I just used this ink pad to go around the edges and make everything white. And that makes it a lot easier than using paint. And at the end, I go back with a pink one on just the edges of the paper and do the edges of the paper with a little bit of a pink tinge to them. So there is my first side all covered. And then I'm going to use this scrap to do my second side. I just put a bunch of glue stick on there, get it stuck down. Now I don't show all the pages being done, but I think I show a couple just to give people who are new to making mini albums an idea of what's involved. So I'm just trimming that out, and like I said, I went right over the holes because I was planning on spiral binding this. But if you wanted to use binding rings, you can just punch the holes as you go. So there's one page done. And then I went and did a bunch of die cutting. And here's a few of the die cuts that I used. And I just used my scraps from covering the pages and cut out a whole bunch of different shapes to use in this. I don't use all of them, but I use a lot of them. And you can see on that front page, I covered the front and I did fussy cut around the baby girl, but you could just paint that interior part and not cover it with paper, which would make it easier if you don't like fussy cutting with a X-Acto knife. And then I backed it with that pink color, so I think it turned out really cute. And then I showed you I just took my regular punches and did a bunch of different little border punches to use as pockets within the album, because I'm going to put a pocket on each page. And so now I'm just kind of decorating the front. You can see on the left there are a bunch of different SaCrafters shapes that I've already prepped by painting white, and those are the ones I'm going to pull from. I don't wind up using all of them, but yeah, I just had a bunch of them ready. I'll probably go ahead and link to most of these products. I'll link definitely the ones that I use in this album, but I think I'll link the other ones too, because there's just a lot of shapes that would work really well on this. So the Pebbles has a bunch of these cut apart pieces, and then I also have some Project Life type cards for baby girl, and then I think some me and my big idea girl themed 3x4 and 4x6 cards that I use within the pockets. So these are more the cut aparts from the Pebbles line. So I'm just looking to use one of those on the front. And I love that little fox, but it really needed more color on there. So I went ahead and put this teal, since teal is kind of the accent color that gets used throughout the whole album. And so I really wanted to use that on the front. And I also do some stamping on the front. You'll see here in a minute. I'm looking for my corner rounder is what I can't seem to find at the moment. Yeah, I do some stamping on here. So it was great that I got to use my die cuts. I got to use my punches. I got to use my stamps. I got to use papers out of my stash. I got to use some of my 3x4 and 4x6 kind of Project Life type cards. And so I used a lot of stash on this little album, and it turned out so cute. So here's the stamp set that I use. I think this is the Prima. I don't know, I got it at Tuesday Morning a while ago, and it's baby themed. And so now I just need to find a pink ink that will work well on this. And so I pull out this Hero Arts, and so you really should test on a piece of paper beforehand, because you'll see this is just like way too bright of a pink for this. So I dip into my stash and look for another pink, and I find this Adirondack, and there's another one I used that also that were so light that you couldn't even see them. Yeah, see this one, you can't even tell it's there. So it really is worth your time to try. I think this one's the Worn Lipstick, which was more of a red color. And then I go and I find these two little tiny stamps. That one was just too light. And finally, this last one is my Goldilocks Just Right. So that's the one I decide to go with. I think that's what, is that a Prima chalk ink? I forget. It was just one that came in a kit. So I go ahead and stamp that baby bottle on there. I don't want it to be, super predominant on the page, but I just want it to give an extra little texture, kind of peeking out from behind this little scallop circle. And in the Pebbles line, there's the teal and then the gray that are kind of more accent colors, and the rest of it are pinks. And so I think I did all my pages in the pinks and light colors, and then I just used the grays and teals for accents. So that's kind of the cluster I'm going to have on the front. And I have this little Recollections pack that I got on clearance that's baby themed. So I like that little flower. It kind of brings in the colors. There's a little heart there. So I put those on there. And then I'm waiting for my hot glue gun to heat up, which is, I had left my hot glue gun on for a long period of time, and now it just, by accident, and now it just doesn't quite work like it should. I don't know. I'll see if it starts working better. Otherwise, I may have to replace it, which, yeah, I need to put it on its own, like on a power switch where it's connected to the light, so I know if the light's off that the glue gun's off or something like that, so that I don't accidentally leave it on. So there I use that cute little baby bottle from SaCrafters. And then I decide to corner around a few more of these little cut apart cards from the Pebbles collection. And then I go ahead and get enough glue squeezed out there to get that flower stuck down. So that's my front page. And then I grab another one of these pieces that I punch the edge on to make another pocket. And then I also have these Pebbles index cards that I just got at Tuesday morning. And they're just a really nice shade of pink to match this collection. Maybe it helps that they're both Pebbles. And then those are me and my big idea cards. They're a little bit the wrong color pink, but they have the teal is really nice in there and works really well. And then I also have these little guys that I got from Debbie. Thank you, Debbie. And so I go ahead and use a lot of the little different pink items throughout here as well, just to give me a lot of little tiny touches that I can add. So I'm just using my glue stick and going along the outside edges of my pocket. I go ahead and stick that down. And I like using glue on the pockets really, because then when you stick the cards in there later, they won't get stuck. If you use like a double sticky adhesive, double sticky tape, a lot of times whatever's in the pocket will get touch that double sticky tape and get stuck in there. So I just like using a glue that dries completely. So on this second page, I have this little fox, and then I love that little ladybug from SaCrafters, and then I have another of my little die cuts, and then one of those little embellishments that I got from Debbie. So I just go ahead and use that label to kind of ground everything. Put on the little fox. And then for the delicate things like that, I just put it down and I dab my glue stick onto it. So I don't smear the glue or run the glue across. I just dab up and down so that I don't tear the delicate die cut. Went ahead and put that down. And then now I'm going to put the little ladybug. And then also, I think that, yeah, that little tiny little rubber ducky. And that gives a lot of texture without putting too much dimension on there. And now I'm just looking for some cards that I can slip in there. I don't know why it's such a big deal to find just the right card, but I guess it is. And then this is a piece of lace that I die cut, paper lace, and that's one of the hot off the press die cuts. And I really like the hot off the press die cuts. They work really well. That released just fine. I didn't have any problems with it. Just such a relief, because you know, usually with real intricate stuff, it's hard to get it to work just right. But yeah, I love that paper lace die. So I just put a little bit of that lace along the top just to give a little more texture on there. And then just looking to see which is going to be my next page, so I can start decorating that. So I'm looking through the die cuts that I made earlier, and just kind of making some clusters to ground some of the embellishments that I want to add on there. And I think about using this card as a pocket, but since I already have a bunch of things already cut and edge punched, you know, I decided to stick with those. But I do use one of those index cards to make like a little booklet. So those flowers that I have there are just from the Michael's dollar bin. So yeah, they just had some that had the pinks, the grays, and the blues. So they wound up working out just perfect. So I decide to do a little bit more stamping and carry that, you know, kind of through the whole album. So I use this Rockabye Baby. And then I go ahead and glue this kind of label down there. And then I have a pinked circle. And now I'm looking to see which of my little embellishment pieces I want to use. So I love this little open work butterfly, so I think that's what I go ahead and use on this page. And then I also have this punched piece to use as a pocket on the bottom. Just put a little bit of hot glue and stick those down. And again, I just use my glue stick around the 3 edges to hold my pocket in place. I really love the colors on this album. It's very girly, without being, you know, too shabby chic. My last album, baby album I did for Allison was a little more shabby chic in style. So this one I wanted to make a little bit cleaner, you know, and so I like the little bit difference in the style. And this one will be for baby Emma, who is due next month. So we're all really excited about that. And then Mason is also expecting a little brother. So I'll have to do another baby boy album for the second grandson. Something tells me I am going to be doing baby stuff for a while. So there we go. And you can see I put some cards in there when I first glued it down, just to make sure that there was enough room in the pocket. I didn't want to glue it down super flat, so that there wasn't enough space for the cards to fit in there. And there I just took 2 of those little cut apart tags, and I took one of the index cards and folded over like a little booklet. And now I'm going to stick 2 of these little cut aparts on there just to kind of make a little, like a little pull, like a tag pull almost. And then you can put 2 more photos on the inside or some journaling. And I just thought that, you know, gave just a little different effect, and it brought some color up kind of into the center of that page. And I think that's all I make you suffer through. So the rest of it I do off screen, and this is the final. And you can see I did wind up binding it, and if I would have thought I was going to bind it this way to begin with, I probably would have done the binding before I put the paper on, because you can kind of see those pink edges, but it looks just fine. And I put the word baby down the spine and put some ribbons on the binding. And there's the size of it. I think the width is 2 inches, the width of the spine. And I really love how it turned out, even though I did kind of bind it after the fact. And you'll see when I open this up there. See the pink, usually you shouldn't see that much of the pink edging in the spine. That would be covered up with paper. But it still looks okay because it's nice and clean. And there's the little cluster with the little SaCrafters ladybug on there, some of my die cuts, and then has some cards. And I love those cut apart sheets. Like this one, it said, it has like the birth information, and then it said like said mommy and the date, you know, that she said mommy. And then there's another card on the other side that says the date that she said daddy. And there's the little cluster. Because of the binding, my Rockabye baby got covered up a little bit there, but not too bad. And then that little sentiment at the bottom says timeless moment. Yeah, said daddy when they first slept through the night, when they got their first tooth. So those cards are really awesome for documenting all the baby's firsts. And then you could put a picture of her first tooth and stuff like that on the back. So I think it's going to be really cute when it's filled up with photos and all the information. First veggies on there. And I put the little rattle down there. And I put the little baby feet on one of the tags to kind of bring one of those embellishments into the center of the page. First giggle, rolls over front to back and then back to front. So great little journaling prompts on those. Then I put this little heart border along the top, which is really sweet. I put the little rabbit card with a SaCrafters rabbit on there. And holds her head up, adorable firsts. Some of the index cards from that Pebbles journaling pad. Then I have an adore sentiment. Then some stamping, the little comb, a little Maggie Holmes bow. Just some more cards. First steps, birth story. Another one of the index cards with a little diaper pin on it. Got some more paper lace there across the top. First cereal. Got a little pacifier down there and one of the Michael's dollar spot butterflies. First sippy cup. First word. Another index card. So just lots of journaling prompts. And little fun things to remember. Got a cloud and a hot air balloon on this page. Another one of those chipboard stickers from that recollection sticker sheet. I think it just turned out really cute. It's feminine and flowery, but it's not like over the top, shabby chic. Just depending on, what the mom likes. So that is the last page. And then I left the back plain with just all those, that word paper. And so there is kind of a overhead flip through. So yeah, I just love how it turned out. And I think Emma's mama's really going to love it too. And so I will put links to all the products down below. And if you use the code AngelaFans on an order of $30 or more in Sa's shop, you'll wind up getting a 10% discount off your order. And I will put that down in the description box as well. So yeah, it just turned out super, super cute. And she has one of these that says baby boy as well. And that is how thick it turned out. Plenty of room still for all the photographs and journaling that's going to go in there. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or anything, just leave me a comment below and I will make sure to get back to you. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you later. Bye.